Also, make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell up above for future uploads, and check out the links posted in the description down below to support the channel. Thanks. So here I have Transformers Legacy Wave 3. It looks like a really good wave. I have some constructive criticism towards this wave, and also I think ultimately it looks really good, and I think this design team are getting their hands on this line, and it seems to me like some of these figures are figures that these guys are very much so involved in, whereas the previous couple of waves you could say that maybe the previous design team were involved in. And these guys, I felt through this stream, were really interested with what they wanted to attach themselves fully to and what they wanted to kind of distance themselves from. First up here we have Transformers Voyager class Armada Starscream. This looks really accurate. The articulation looks really good. They're the high points for this figure. I will say this though, the lack of a gimmick from Armada, considering this is a Voyager class figure, the lack of minicon, and the fact that this is shrunk down in comparison to the original figure says an awful lot about what's going on these days and what this company, not the people that are involved with this, but the company expect from people. They expect you to forgo the likes of the gimmick, the spring loaded gimmick. They expect you to forgo the minicon, and they expect you to forgo then the likes of Starscream's wing here being removable and turning into a sword. Now I would say this, I would prefer if the wing was removable and the sword was a separate piece. That's fine with me. However, they did kind of infer on the stream as to that sword being grey rather than red as they've been shown. I hope that that's not true, and I hope it is red, because it's accurate when it's red, it's inaccurate if it's grey, and that's a headache I think going down the line. But like I said, the fact that there's no minicon coming along this minicon swindle I think is a deterrent for me, and saying like, well, the original figure is still up there and the value for money particularly is there. I do think that they probably will release the minicons in like an accessory pack, or maybe even like what they've done with the Battle Masters, being able to release them singularly. I mean, I think the likes of Studio Series, I think them putting Rumble into that and Spike, I think that that's a sign of things to come. And indeed as well with Ravage there from the Bumblebee movie, like you would have been expecting those minions with those figures. Now what they're doing is they're selling you a Voyager class figure at a Voyager class price point that's more expensive than it used to be, and then selling you that minicon for 10 to 15 euro then later on down the line. So there's a lot of money being made on these Voyager class figures. So that's what it's all about. And look, I know that they're a company and stuff like that, but I think a lot of fans haven't said their piece, and there's a lot of shields out there. Like I said, you're not going to get that with me. I'm probably not going to get an interview with any of these people, and I don't mind, but I'd rather be honest than sort of sitting here saying, oh, these all look fantastic and we're getting less even though we're paying more. You know what I mean? So I think it looks good. Accuracy's good. Articulation looks good. But if it does come with that grey sword, that's not great whatsoever. And then it's coming with a Star Saber that looks alright. Like, it looks okay. Next up here, you've got Beast Wars Inferno. I will say this, I think this looks fantastic. I think it looks like a fantastic figure. The head does look a tad bit small here. However, when they were showing it off, it doesn't look small at all. It has an articulated jaw, which I think is insane. I think that that's brilliant. I like the ant mode. I will say this, I like the fact that they have the thrusters coming along with it, but I will say that I don't like the fact that they don't have the flamethrower gun coming with on Inferno. It's a very specific looking gun, and I do think that we'll probably get an accessory pack later on down the line, maybe with the robot mode of the Dragon Megatron, his head. I think we'll get an alternate head possibly with that, and I think that's what Hasbro are going to do now. And I think these guys that are involved in this line, when they're picking up from a previous team, they want to see accuracy. And I get the feeling that even though that these guys are marketers and they're very good at their jobs at what they do, and some of the other teams as well too come across really poorly pretending to be fans, I do get the vibe from these guys that are involved in Transformers that these guys are actually fans. So I do think that they will look out for the fan going on later down the road with the likes of accessory packs, and I hope to see Inferno's alternate gun coming in that accessory pack. And I think they kind of inferred it during the stream, but this looks like a good figure. I have to say, Inferno was always a character that stood out to me in the show, and he's well liked by the fans. Transmetal 2 Megatron. Okay, well, I'm happy to see this. The alternate mode looks quite strange. I would say the dragon head looks a little bit more janky than the original did. It's not coming with vac metal, as you can see here. It's not coming even with metallic paint, as we can see. It looks kind of cheap. Is that going to be something that they look at later on down the line? And this is what I'm talking about, the robot mode head. The robot mode head, they're saying, is a fuse between the TV show and the toy. If it's me, I'd rather go off what the TV show looks like rather than the toy. That's just me. I know some people that are out there that like them, but in my opinion, if you're going to do that, put it into like selects or something like that. Put it into a small subline rather than in the main line. Now, can I see this coming out then in the selects with a more accurate colour scheme, with a more accurate head? Absolutely. I think that is going to be something that will happen. There's talk about Cryotech as well too, another remold, well not even a remold, but more of a repaint for this figure. I can see that happening 100%. But what's interesting is what's happening at Star Wars now at the moment. And like I said with the vac metal isn't being used anymore because, you know yourself on that one, a lot of people think that the vac metal isn't really good for people or anything like that. Now again, you know my opinion on what's been going on for the last few years, yet these are the same people that are concerned about vac metal. But anyway, needless to say, the Star Wars team have found a way around that. It seems they seem to have found something that's quite close to vac metal that's been put onto a vintage R2D2 and C3PO. So I think that could be for the Transformers line next, and I think that's why we're seeing now Transmetal 1, Megatron and Rat Trap and Cheetor, yeah, because I think they're trying to get those details and iron them out. You can kind of get away with Megatron with the different paints that they have in it, but I do hope to see some similar thing to vac metal going later down the line. Nice Dragon mode all the same though. I think it looks good. The original is fantastic though, I will say that. The original Beast Wars Dragon Megatron is very cool. And the orb as well too, and the chest is deadly. This is the Pretender Skull Grin. And my criticism, well I suppose constructive criticism to this is this. They spent a good amount of time in the stream talking about the fact that they fuse Pretenders not. That's great. However, what I would have done, I would have taken it a little step further here. Because to give people kind of that little element of it being a shell still, I would have had an ordinary robot mode head underneath this, and I would have had that as a removable helmet. I would have done that for all of the Pretenders, by the way, like Bombburst and Iguanus. That's exactly what I would have done here. Is that going to add the parts count and difficulty? Yeah, absolutely it is, but I think it would have looked cool. I think it would have been cool if you could have held this in his hand. You wouldn't have to then have foldable horns or anything like that. Like, I don't mind parts forming at all. I don't have an issue with it whatsoever. So again, that's just my little bit of criticism for that. It's constructive, I would say. We've got Autobot Point Blank. Now, to me, this looks like, and I'll be honest with you, I think this looks like a retool of Armada Blur. I think if you turn this fella around and have the head turned around, I think this is very like Armada Blur. And I think when you look at then Armada Blur, his canopy was on his back versus on his front. So I think you'll flip this around and it kind of be like punch, counter punch. And I'm all for that. That's okay. You know, that's fine. And I know these Armada figures as well too. They're trying to base them off as close to the show as possible, but they're also taking some design liberties. I'd rather they didn't. I'd rather they be as accurate to the show as possible. But I do understand that for a Studio Series line or like a Masterpiece line that they might do, they want to kind of save that absolutely slavish rendition of the TV series into the figure for those spots rather than doing it in a what you would call maybe a budgetary line in comparison. Point Blank looks good. I like Peacemakers in it, and I have to say this was the first figure that I saw the team particularly gush over, and I think that kind of says an awful lot. I think it means that we're now starting to see their product full on. I think some of the stuff that we've seen previously is stuff that has been there from the previous team, and they've talked about some of the people that were involved that they're no longer there, and John Warden has gone as well too. I'm looking forward to seeing what this current team do, because I think that these are people that are interested in accuracy. I think they're hamstrung at some point in time with the budget. However, I will say this, like you look at this figure here, even from this angle, and you look at the forearms, there doesn't look to be an awful lot of hollow parts here. And that's something actually that they've been talking about. They've said that they want to make these figures feel beefier and look like they were not hollow. I'm interested to see what happens now in the next couple of months, indeed with further reveals, if they're going to keep knocking it out of the park. And I hope they do. The guys that are involved now come across really likeable and as fans. And like I said, these people are all involved in marketing and they have top end jobs. But to me, it is nice when you see these guys coming across going like, we hear the fans, we listen to the fans, we want to change that. I think that's cool. Now, I mean, talking about hollowness, I mean, there you go there as well too, with this character here, Crankcase. This is a remold, slight retool as well too, of Skids and Crosscut. I think the alternate mode for this looks fantastic. I think it looks really, really interesting. And you've got another character here that I think he's attached to the Scavengers, I think, in the comics. I think that's what they're called. and it has this grill gun. I think that looks interesting, and then it has this energon infused gun. They're starting to move away, if you've noticed that as well too, by the way. They've started to move away from this energon infused weaponry. I don't think that landed as a big hit, and I don't think they knew where they wanted to go with that. I also do think as well too, with the increases in prices, that's probably been the first thing that was dropped, and I'm happy for that to be dropped. If you're going to be looking for outlandish and outrageous prices for these figures, I'd rather those things be dropped. However, I would expect more than in other avenues, and I mean, if you're going to look for more of a price, then I now expect the energon weapon to be in there now. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a catch-22 on this one. It looks good though. Crankcase looks good. There's a lot of people out there that'd be happy about that. I want to see Flatline. I want to see a G1ish version of Flatline. I'd love to see that in the line. I think that that's something that's well overdue at this stage. And here we have then Dead End, so another member of the Menasor team. I think the Stunticons are always going to look really well, and I think the alternate mode for this fella is absolutely stunning. But I do like this robot mode. It's very accurate to G1. I like the fact that they've done the Combiner Menasor now, and it looks very accurate to G1. I can see Superion happening next, although I wouldn't be shocked if the Fensor came next, because I think you can probably remold and retail most of these figures pretty easily into the Fensor. I would like to see an all new mold, but I'm not too fussed. By the way, whilst I'm here, what I would like to see too is, even if it's a remold or retail, you could even maybe get a combiner out of it. I would love to see the rescue bots in this Legacy line. I think that that'd be great. Give us a good version of the rescue bots here. And I mean, this is the nice thing about Legacy and what I like about it. I know it's going to be a 3-year line, but there are a lot of figures that I would like to see from like different universes, particularly like the rescue bots. I'd love to see it more from Armada and again Cybertron as well. Even Energon as well. There seems to be a bit of talk about that also. Like, this is a wide open line, and I'll be honest with you, I don't think Legacy should last just for 3 years. I think this should be a constant thing that they do. Bring characters in, and then maybe from a different line, a sub-line or something like that, that he could do a very accurate version to the TV series. That's what I'd like to see. But Dead End here looks wonderful, and then again, like I said, you're seeing some of the figures and you're saying, that worked nice as this one or that one. And I think, going forward, that's what they probably do. So anyway, that's it. The reveals that they had for the Transformers Legacy Wave 3. I think they look good. I think there's criticisms there for sure, some constructive criticisms. But I'm looking forward to the line and what they do with Legacy. I think they started off with, in particular, Wave 1 I thought was a little bit weak. I look at Kickback now again, and the fact that they're doing Transformers Studio Series 86, I can see that being inducted into the 86 line with some changes. If there's anything that's coming out G1, by the way, I would highly expect it to end up in the Studio Series 86 line, either as a new figure or with an all new mold. That being a new figure is what I wanted to say, but also maybe some different mold and some remold and some new parts to make it into that 86 line. I wouldn't be shocked. So yeah, look, I think the most exciting one that I've had in this reveal here is probably going to be Inferno. Inferno I'm very excited for. You can clearly tell I'm a Beast Wars fan. And then after that, then Dragon Megatron looks really good. Armada Starscream looks fantastic. And then the rest of them then are kind of on the maybe list at this stage. And that's also a thing I would say is character choice. Whilst there are some deep cuts that are there, like the likes of Skullgrain, I would have rather seen, like I said there, Flatline in here in this studio series, in this Transformers Legacy Wave 3. I would have rather seen him. I'd rather see 3 or 4 other characters probably as well too, like Armada Blur. I know that he's supposedly coming anyway, but I would rather seen him than say Skullgrain or Crankcase or Point Blank, you know what I mean? And that's the type of way I'm looking at it as well too, you know what I mean? So anyway, I'm going to leave the video there. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell up above for future uploads. Check out the links posted in the description down below to support the channel. Drop a comment in the comment box below, and I'll talk to you later. Good luck.